A billion-year jewel now takes 7 days. One diamond was pulled from deep African rock. The other was grown in Zhejiang, a county in Henan, China, once known for chili fields. Same carbon, same crystal structure, same sparkle. Even a veteran gemologist cannot separate them by eye. That single fact is wrecking a century-old business built on scarcity. In 2015, a 1-carat lab-grown diamond sold wholesale for up to $4,000. Today, that same stone can sell for $300 to $500. More than 90% of the price vanished in 10 years. But jewelry was never the real target. China was chasing something far more valuable than engagement rings: control of a material future. Chips, sensors, lasers, and weapons may depend on. And diamonds were only the doorway. For decades, diamonds were sold as rare treasures. The truth was colder. Their price depended on control. In 2015, lab-grown stones were just 1% of global diamond sales. By 2024, they reached 20%. In the United States, nearly half of all diamonds sold that year were lab-grown, rising from 12% in 2019. That changed fast. Old diamond centers felt the shock first. Antwerp and major cutting workshops saw staff cuts, shuttered benches, and businesses that once ran nonstop going silent. This was not a fashion wobble. It was a price discovery event. The market finally saw what a diamond costs when supply cannot be locked away. That number was far below the story sold for generations. So the real question becomes brutal. If diamonds can be made this cheaply, who kept them expensive for so long? The answer begins in 1888 with De Beers and Cecil Rhodes. Rhodes understood one rule before almost anyone else in luxury goods. If you control supply, you can control price. He bought South African diamond mines one by one, until his company dominated the source. At its peak, De Beers controlled close to 90% of the world's rough diamond supply. But mines were only half the machine. De Beers stored millions of carats in vaults. These were stones already mined, already sorted, and ready to sell. When too much supply threatened prices, the company simply held them back. Scarcity was managed. Dealers known as site holders bought under strict terms. They accepted fixed allocations, company set prices, and approved selling channels. If an outside producer tried to bypass the system, De Beers could dump supply, push prices down, and force surrender. That is not romance. That is market power. For nearly a century, the system worked with astonishing discipline. But the sharper weapon was not underground. It was psychological. In 1947, De Beers hired the advertising agency N.W. Ayer to solve a problem. Americans were not buying enough diamond engagement rings. The agency returned with 4 words: "A diamond is forever." The slogan later became known as the advertising slogan of the century. It did 2 things at once. It made a diamond ring feel mandatory. It also told people never to resell it. A ring stayed on the hand. Supply stayed out of the market. De Beers controlled what entered the market, and advertising controlled what never returned. That combination printed money for generations, until the machine hit a material it could not restrain. Then it broke. De Beers was still profitable in 2023, earning $72 million. Then losses arrived fast. It lost $25 million in 2024, then $511 million in 2025. Its book value fell from $9.99, $2 billion to $2.3 billion in 3 years. Anglo-American, its parent company, wrote the value down 3 years in a row, and now wants out. When value depends on artificial scarcity, one threat matters most: someone makes more. China made its first synthetic diamond in 1963. It was the 5th country to achieve it, after the United States, Sweden, South Africa, and the Soviet Union. This was not about jewelry. It was about industry. Factories need diamond to cut, drill, grind, and polish hard materials. Heavy industry runs on tools that survive punishment. Nothing is harder than diamond. At the time, China could not depend on Western supply, so it had to build its own. Henan became the center. Zhejiang became one of the cores. For decades, factories refined HPHT technology, short for high pressure, high temperature. The idea sounds simple. Put carbon inside a press. Apply pressure like conditions 150 kilometers underground. Raise heat beyond 1,400 degrees Celsius. Then wait 7 days. Carbon crystallizes into diamond. Nature may take more than 1 billion years. A factory can do it in a week. For about 50 years, those presses mostly produced abrasive powder for industrial tools. It was useful, ugly, and not sold in velvet boxes. The turning point came around 2015. The presses became more precise. The process became cleaner. Chinese engineers improved purity and crystal size until the stones crossed into gem quality almost by accident. And industrial output became a luxury product. Then scale arrived. Within a decade, the region's output multiplied by 300. Today, China produces more than 60% of the world's lab-grown diamonds. That includes more than 22 million carats a year of gem-quality rough. The industrial side is even more concentrated. China controls 95% to 98% of global industrial synthetic diamond production. Around 80% of that capacity sits in Henan. Think about that. A place known for chili fields 2 decades ago now produces more diamonds than South Africa, Botswana, and Russia combined. But nobody builds that much capacity just to chase a collapsing jewelry market. The real prize was not sparkle. Diamond is one of the best heat conductors known. It conducts heat 5 times better than copper and 13 times better than silicon. That matters because modern chips are trapped by heat. A chip can only run as fast as it can stay cool. Push harder and performance drops. Push too far and the chip damages itself. Synthetic diamond heat spreaders can move heat away from high-performance chips. That lets them run faster, longer, and more reliably. This is already real. Synthetic diamond is used in power semiconductors, radar systems, and certain sensors. It also matters in quantum technology. Here is the stranger part. A diamond with the right atomic flaw can become an ultra-sensitive magnetic sensor. It can detect fields too weak for ordinary instruments. That makes it useful in quantum sensing, brain imaging, and finding objects designed to stay hidden. Synthetic diamonds are already present inside high-precision military laser systems. That explains Beijing's October 2025 decision. Industrial synthetic diamonds were classified as a strategic resource, with the same kind of importance assigned to rare earths. Exporting raw material or diamond-making equipment now requires a government license. Watch the twist. The restriction protects the ability to make diamonds, not necessarily every finished part. Raw crystals and growth machines are controlled. Finished components can still be sold into global supply chains. A foreign company can buy the diamond heat spreader, but not the factory knowledge behind it. You get the part, not the power. That is why this story changed again in March 2026. Several Henan factories told customers prices for large single crystals would rise about 15%. The official explanation was higher equipment and raw material costs. The real reason was demand quality. Jewelry buyers had been squeezed by falling prices. Chip companies had far deeper pockets. When the customer changes from a jeweler to a semiconductor firm, pricing power changes overnight. Markets noticed immediately. In 1 week, shares of Zhejiang Huifeng Diamond Technology jumped 51%. SF Diamond rose 40%. Both companies said their diamond products passed testing as heat spreaders for high-end chips, with first commercial orders already being delivered. Then, NVIDIA appeared in the background. NVIDIA said its Vera Rubin chips would enter mass production in the 3rd quarter of 2026. Possibly using a composite diamond cooling solution. The market understood the signal. The stone was no longer being valued as jewelry. It was being valued as infrastructure. That is a different business. The old diamond world depended on emotion, scarcity, and a controlled story. The new diamond world depends on thermal physics, manufacturing capacity, and export rules. Even the jewelry establishment began stepping back. The GIA, widely treated as the diamond industry's referee, stopped using its traditional diamond grading system for lab-grown stones. That was symbolic. You do not grade industrial steel like a romantic heirloom. You ask performance, volume, and price. De Beers spent a century selling scarcity, but the scarcity was never truly inside the stone. It was inside the supply chain. Zhecheng copied the stone, then captured the chain. The diamond collapse is not an isolated business failure. It is a pattern. Polysilicon for solar panels, rare earths for magnets, lithium for batteries. Again and again, a material looks rare, difficult, or protected. Then China builds enough capacity to change the global price. Synthetic diamond now sits inside that larger strategy. China's latest 5-year plan, approved in March 2026, names new materials as a strategic priority. It appears alongside advanced semiconductors, quantum technology, and biomanufacturing. Diamonds fit all three worlds. They can be jewels, tools, and strategic components at the same time. That is why the jewelry market became collateral damage, not the main battlefield. The lesson is simple. If a business depends on scarcity, mystery, or old distribution power, it may already be vulnerable. Somewhere, a quiet industrial cluster may be learning how to make the same thing cheaper, faster, and at impossible scale. The next collapse may not begin in a boardroom. It may begin in a factory nobody is watching. The diamond was supposed to prove that some things stay rare forever. China proved forever can end in 7 days.